everybody, it's Shari Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe, comment, like this video. And today I am going to be discussing the most asked about book in this notary signing agent field, and that is the loan document source book. Everyone is usually asking, is it worth it? Is it helpful? And everything along that line. Now, I bought this book when I bought my NNA plan to become a signing agent. I didn't buy it in the bundle though. I bought it separate along with this book, The Notaries Best Practices, which is another great book that I recommend every notary have because it's very in tune with today's present time, such as, you know, asking someone, trying to verify somebody's identity and they were born male, but yet you have a female, you know, sitting in front of you kind of thing. So it talks about how to address those situations. So once again, this is the Notaries Best Practices. This is by Professor Closen or Michael Closen. I believe you only can find this on the NNA website. Yeah, I think they're the only one who's selling his book now. But anyway, back to this loan document source book, which is the reason for this video. When I bought this and when it arrived, I looked through it, like I just quickly skimmed through it. And I think by that time, I don't know if I had done one signing or if I haven't done any signings. I was very still fresh. So when I skimmed through it, first of all, it felt overwhelming. And second of all, I didn't feel like it was beneficial. It just seemed easier to just get out here based on the knowledge that I already had, the confidence that I already had about completing my notarial certificates, and also having an idea what some of these mortgage loan documents look like based on my previous job working at the county clerk's office in this particular department where deed of trust get filed at. So I just set the book aside and I literally just picked it up again last night. And I was like, you know, because I had scrolled through Facebook and I started seeing more notaries, new notaries especially, asking about, you know, what do we think about this book? So I actually sat down and looked through it thoroughly this time, you know, since I've already been out there. I've already completed over 80, I think it's like 85 now, loan signings. I'm well, you know, I can say that I'm experienced now because there's really nothing to it once you get like 10 under your belt. There's nothing to it at all. It becomes the same thing. The only thing that's different is the people, the lenders, or the title companies, and their individual rules and instructions about how they want it completed. So one of the main things that I'm going to say is very helpful if you're very new, you don't have any signings under your belt, is to, yes, get this book. I think it's like 20 something. Don't quote me on it. Just look on the NNA website under their, I think it's under like resources or something. And they have the books. They have all their books listed. But I looked through here and I see that they have a lot of the common documents that are found in pretty much all of these loan closings. Usually like the refinances, the buyers, sellers, all of them. So here they have a section on in chapter 6 called the Common Signing Agent Forms, and it starts with the affidavits, so the occupancy affidavits. And those are usually like the occupancy statement or statement of occupancy, just stating that they will occupy this property, or it's an investment property, or it's their second home. And then they have the affidavit of occupancy, because it's two different ones. So they have the occupancy statement here, and it gives you sample documents, so sample people's names or whatever, and then as the affidavit of occupancy there. And then it goes into the compliance agreement. You will pretty much see in all of these loan closings the errors and omissions / compliance agreement. And usually that's just stating that they will stay in compliance with their loan agreement, and they're also cooperate to get any clerical errors fixed if there may be any throughout that whole process. Yeah, so it says the borrower agrees to cooperate with the lender's reasonable request in accomplishing any and all clerical corrections required by governmental authorities or secondary market investors. It usually be a lot of those, to be honest. It'd be a lot of compliance agreements, a lot of errors and correction agreements. Let's see. There's also one, the correction agreement, limited power of attorney. And any limited power of attorney forms that you see in the document is always going to be talking about the lender's attorney. And like there's an attorney representation fee letter. And all of those just basically states to the borrower that that's the lender's attorney. They don't represent you. They may just be filing your documents, stuff like that. The next set of forms that you will always see are the name affidavits or the signature name affidavit. And those are just usually basically them looking at, some of them will have their names already like listed, like a whole bunch of names. Sometimes it's misspelled names, names that were typed wrong by whatever company or person they dealt with years ago. And all they're doing is just certifying that those names they have been known by throughout their life. If they haven't been known by it, then, you know, they will just usually strike through it once and initial exactly right next to that strikeout. Otherwise, they're just going to sign and date it. And you usually always notarize those. As you can see down here at the bottom. You notarize in that section. Now, I will say some of these forms that you're going to see, they're going to be old. The lender has not, or title company, because it's both lender and title documents in these packages. But some of them are usually like old forms from like 2001, 2005 or whatever. And you just have to make the necessary corrections to the date that may already be on there in your section. Or it just make the alignment, the paper alignment may be a little bit off. The format may be off. So the lines may not be big enough. They may be like tiny. Just basically like somebody copied and pasted. The other one you will see is the one that I just told you about striking out. That will be the AKA statement. So also known as, and that's what that looks like. The other type of forms that you will see, like it tells you what a deed of trust looks like in here. It tells you, it goes through a HELOC. It goes through the reverse mortgages. And what is this? Chapter 3. It talks all about reverse mortgages. A lot of people have questions about that because other notaries have scared them from taking reverse mortgages due to it being, you know, it's usually dealing with people 60 years and older, you know, the elderly. So that requires more patience. And then these documents are usually always 200 plus. So it's usually a bigger packet, more for you to print. Some of them have come to where, which I like, where it'll be like 250 or 270 pages. But the way that company have set it up, it's all together. So it'll have their section in the front, and then it'll be divided by like a piece of paper that says borrower's copy, and then everything after that you don't have to, you know, it goes right to them. So you're not printing that 250 two times. It's all in one. So I think that only happened to me like 2 times. The rest of them, the people didn't do it like that. And I was like, I don't like y'all. But it just tells you what a reverse mortgage is. Okay, so it tells you that the requirements for the borrower is usually they have to be 62 and older. They can't be delinquent on any federal debt. I'm sure y'all don't really care about all that. But again, if you do care, then you can actually sit down and study and read exactly what these documents are. I think it is best to know exactly what these documents mean, even though legally you cannot explain anything to your clients. But to just have that knowledge within yourself that you know what you're talking about when you give them that summary of the document that they're going to sign, I think is very important. And that's not something that that's not something that you should stress on yourself that you need to know before you accept any signings. You don't. Literally, you can fake it till you make it. Simply looking at the title of the document and telling them that, and and then handing it over for them to sign. Let me see. And then the first chapter in this talks about the refinance loan. So that's the most popular one, refinance, which honestly is just like the buyers. Sometimes the refinance is more than a buyer's or vice versa, but they usually contain similar, if not the same type of documents. Let's see. So this is what a deed of trust look like. This is public records for most counties. In most states, it's definitely public record in my county here in Texas. These are the documents that I used to deal with for the past 4 years, working in county clerk's office. Just checking them, making sure that the names were right, the property description was right, the notary section was correct. Let me see. And then they show you, you know, everybody's seen a W-9, so these are usually always in the these loan closings. They literally give you almost every document that you will find. Like I said, depending on the title company and the lender, you may see some new documents every now and then that only pertains to that company. But for the most part, it's going to be the same stuff. But I do, like I said, recommend you get this book. They also have the first payment letter. This is one of the documents that I always present first to the signers after the closing disclosure. So usually the way I set up how I present my documents, I have all of the identity paperwork. So the U.S. Patriot Act, the identity fraud prevention forms, any other kind of identity things. And I say identity as in getting that identity demographics from that signer. So their name, address, date of birth, driver's license number, social security card, that kind of stuff. I put those on top because you're supposed to verify the identity of that person before they start signing anything. So that's why that's on top. And then after that, I give them, it's these closing disclosure, it's the initial escrow. No, it's the closing disclosure. Here in Texas, we have Texas disclosures, which is just it's a trailing doc to the closing disclosures. And then it's usually the first payment letter, the initial escrow account, disclosure statement, the amortization schedule, followed by the note, and then followed by the deed of trust, and then everything else flowing after that in its order. The only thing that I take out of order from after that will be like the wire instructions or payment or proceeds disbursement letters, asking how they want to like receive any money back from this closing, or if they're due any money, or if they ever overpay and they need to be sent their refund, they want to receive that by direct deposit or in a check in the mail. So those usually be like the last two documents, because some of them, like I said, they just be out of format and they just look very confusing. And I just like to put it at the end because that's the end. So, but other than that, like this stuff is not hard, y'all. It is not hard at all. Don't overthink things. If you're an overthinker, like I can be sometimes. Like I always just I have to know every single A to Z before I jump into something, because I don't like to screw anything up. I don't like to look stupid. I just like to be confident, and you're most confident when you know A to Z. But certain things you just got to get out there and learn, you know, learn for yourself, experience for yourself. YouTube, buying helpful books, observing in these notary groups, other people asking questions, or excuse me, or just seasoned notaries just dropping jewels. Like, just sit back and take in the information and then apply that information. Because I know it's a lot of people, like when I first started, people were saying how they had their commission for like a year and they haven't done anything with it. They just been sitting in the groups, excuse me, because they just been scared. Like, don't allow fear to hold you back. Like, don't limit yourself. God is not limiting you, because God is not, you know, God is limitless. So don't limit yourself. Don't allow fear to hold you back. Just get out here. If something's been plaguing your mind to do something, do it. Like, the time is now, y'all. The time is now. Excuse me. If 2020 didn't teach anybody anything, it should have taught them to have multiple streams of income and to just do it. Like, just get started. Put that business out. Even if it failed, like, you're going to learn something anyway. So later you can, you know, tweak it and then be successful the second or third time around. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about this book. It has pretty much every document that you will find. Excuse me. You drink some water. And these mortgage closings. Oh my goodness. But let me see. It has 13 chapters. And I'm going to just go ahead and tell you before I end the video. It talks about the refinance loans, the HELOCs or home equity lines of credit, the reverse mortgages, sale and purchase transactions, commercial transactions. And then it talks about the forms that you will find. So the occupancy affidavits, the compliance agreements, the signature and name affidavits, conveyance instruments, notes and security instruments, the notice of right to counsel forms, excuse me, the U.S. Patriot Act forms, and the affidavits. And then, like, the last pages, it just tells you the notary signing agent code of conduct, which the NNA, once again, if you take their exam, if you buy that little bundle, you will be tested on the signing agent code of conduct. But they tell you the answers. Literally at the bottom of every question, they reference the signing agent code of conduct that you can right click, open into a new window, and read through it to get your answer and pass the test. It's not hard, y'all. Stop making it hard. And stop spending your money on stuff that you don't need to spend your money on.